Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Friday. Happy Friday, the 20th day of May, 2022. I hope you're safe and healthy today. I hope your family, in terms of their needs of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health, are also being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field with the first responders, trying every day to save lives all over the country and all over the world. Blessings upon those that pick up garbage to keep streets and sidewalks and parks and highways clean and litter free. And those that make deliveries in big trucks and boats and ships for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women trying to help rescue, deliver the victims of child molestation and pedophilia, the victims of prostitution, child prostitution, pornography, child pornography, human trafficking, sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators, the profiteers, and the perverts that operate in these disgusting industries. Finally, blessings upon the homeless. Nearly 600,000 men, women, and children in the United States. I wish I could say it was zero, but I can't. And men, women, and children with no roof over their head today, and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions. And blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. Today, now, Berman was on somebody's content yesterday, and he said to me the most interesting thing he said was he was asked at the end of the show if he had to bet if a year from now would Tom Thibodeau be the coach, and he said no. And the reason he said no is because he said there were several people. We know about Worldwide West, but he said there was possibly several people in the front office that wanted Thibs fired at this past All-Star break. I certainly understand that because I was frustrated and a lot of y'all were frustrated because he kept sticking with the same five guys and there was no change. He was sticking with them. Now, I understood in the beginning of the season because Thibs and not just Thibs, the team that's in the Eastern Conference Finals, Miami Heat, they generally start slow. For some reason, the defensive team usually start a little slower and pick up as the season goes on, particularly by the time you get to Christmas and January, they start to pick up steam. And so I was more patient, but there were certain glaring problems that we saw, particularly the starting of Kemba Walker, which he eventually pulled the plug. And then the starting of Alec Burks, when you had young point guards that you needed to see what was going on, and then combine that with Julius Randle, and he was an enabler of Julius Randle, enabling the terrible attitude, protecting him from answering questions about his attitude and things he was saying and how he was dealing with his teammates and the assistant coaches. So there was a enabling from Thibodeau with Julius Randle, okay, never holding him accountable for his lack of defense. He would go crazy on a turnover from Deuce McBride. He would go crazy on a turnover from Obi Toppin. But he would not even mention Julius Randle or look at him or say anything to him when he was doing the most turnovers, okay, and lack of defensive effort. So there were those things and others. I can understand why they wanted to move him at the All-Star break. But that being the case, I want to tell you today how Thibodeau will save his job if he chooses to do so. Now, I know somebody would say, what do you mean if he chooses to do so? He is so stubborn that he might cut off his nose to spite his face. He is extremely stubborn. As you have seen and as Berman have said himself, he is extremely stubborn. You could see it just in how he coaches, okay? In that he doesn't consult his assistants during the course of a game for strategy. He just has it all in his head and he's going to stick with that regardless. Okay. But this is how he can save his job. You see, brethren, one of the problems that caused Thibodeau issues was his desire to win now. Leon is trying to thread a needle between development of the kids that he has brought on and Tom's desire to win now. Now, he made a mistake. I mean, he brought on Kemba and Evan Fournier to replace Elfrid Payton and Reggie Bullock, two veterans, and he brought in two more veterans. wrong veterans. Okay. And at the wrong price as far as Fournier, even though that contract can be moved, you got really, for all practical purposes, 2 more years left on that deal. Shouldn't have gave him that long contract. Okay. So let's listen to me carefully. Some of y'all don't listen at all, and you'll see the thumbnail start making comments and don't even know what the video is about. I sometimes don't even answer y'all. Listen to the video. Okay. But listen, let's say the Knicks are going to go with our youth this year. And when I say our youth, I say that with a tongue in cheek in a way. Like I said, if we keep Mitchell Robinson, he's be in his 5th year, even though he's only 24. RJ Barrett will be in his 4th season, although he's only 22, he'll be 22. You see what I'm going? So even though they're still young, very young, they're veterans. Okay. But if we decide to go with guys like that, our guys call it 24 or under. Thibodeau can easily, and Leon can easily frame it. We're rebuilding. So if we don't start off fast or we're losing, we're going through a rebuild. And that's how he would keep his job. Because it would not be expected that you got a bunch of veterans and you got to win now. It would be expected that you got young players and they have time to develop. That's how he would keep his job. I said also, if he chooses to. Which means, I don't know, because I'm not talking to anybody on the Knicks front office, but I believe that even now, he is pushing to trade the pick that we have, to trade some young pieces and get a veteran. I know he's doing that. Okay. I also believe that Leon is not hearing him on all that right now, especially after what happened last year. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Because that dynamic is going. Leon and Thibs are friends. They've known each other a long time. So Leon really does not want to fire Tom Thibodeau. And I believe the only reason he's still coach is because of Leon. Because Leon is the president. He makes the ultimate decision. Okay. But if he was to, which I don't think he's going to, if he was to just listen to what Thibodeau wants and give him everything he wants, and the Knicks lose, Leon's job as well as Tom's job are on the line. Because you got to move both of them out so that you can clear space so that everybody else's opinion could get heard. So now, Leon has to protect his job as well as the future of the Knicks. Tom ain't thinking about future at all. So, what are we going to do? Well, it's up to Tom. Really is. So if the Knicks traded, and I mentioned it the other day. I told y'all there's several teams that the Knicks could do business with here to move up in this draft. There's several teams. I mentioned to y'all Indiana. I mentioned to y'all Portland. I mentioned to y'all Sacramento. I told y'all all 3 of them. We could do business with any of them teams. Okay. There's Sacramento. There's Indiana. There's Portland. I also mentioned Detroit. But Detroit is a little bit, Detroit would be involved if they want Mitchell Robinson in a sign and trade. Okay. So we could do business with any of them and we can trade. Now, it was interesting how Berman looks at things. I love Mark Berman. I respect him, but he's either home run or nothing. If he was a baseball player, he'd be Dave Kingman. And if you follow the Mets, you know who Dave Kingman was. He'd be Dave Kingman. Okay. Because like he said, they asked him, well, would you trade the pick? He said, well, unless we can get Chet Holmgren. Like he only thinks in terms of getting a number 1 pick or staying at 11 or going a blockbuster. He only thinks in those big terms, So I love that, but you got to think, there's more options than just number 1, trade the pick for a blockbuster, So I'm thinking Leon has carefully crafted what we have. Let's just put what we have under Leon Rose's watch. Okay. So he drafts Emmanuel Quickly. He drafts Obi Toppin. He drafts Deuce McBride, he drafts Yoko Bidas, he drafts Quentin Grimes, he drafts Jericho Sims. Now, all 6 of those players are capable of being in the Knicks rotation. Now, Joko Bidas is the exception. We know he's going to stay in Europe another year, but those other 5 players are capable of starting or definitely being in the rotation. Okay. And that's Leon Rose's picks. He inherited RJ, which, he's obviously going to have no problem. 3rd overall pick. And he inherited Mitchell Robinson. Now, I don't know what they're going to do with Mitchell Robinson. I hope they re-sign him. But with that core, and he kept mentioning the young core, I think he's going to do business. You got Sacramento, again, Indiana, Sacramento, and Portland are the strongest ones to me. Because Sacramento starts Trey Lyles at the 4. Some of y'all need to look closer. They start Trey Lyles at the 4. Julius Randle is better than Trey Lyles. Okay? So, we could do business with them. I'm not saying we can get the 4th pick now. But we could do business with them. Okay? We already talked about Portland. There's just too many options with Portland. They're building around Dame Lillard, who's now at the end of his prime, with Anthony Simons. He's going to be a cornerstone. And they've developed Nasir Little, who they got at the University of North Carolina a few years ago. These guys are now ready to play. Okay. So they're going to build around them, probably with a bench piece like Josh Hart. And the rest of those guys, I don't even, and then you got Nurkic, who's okay. But other than that, anybody else is movable. In fact, they're looking to add talent to win now. Julius will fit there. Evan Fournier would fit there. We have a couple of options there. And then we talked about Indiana. Obviously, some of y'all are just on the nutsack of Miles Turner, like won't let go. Okay, fine. But he's available as well as Malcolm Brogdon's available. Okay. So we could do business with any of those teams. And some of y'all, with some of your trade proposals, you try to solve all our problems with one big trade. You're like Mark Berman. But more than likely, I think Leon's more surgical. And he's going to scalp it, surgery, this piece here, this piece here. And I like that better. That's not big blockbuster Mark. That's surgical, So I like how I think Leon's going to do a better job than what everybody's suggesting. So draft night is going to be very interesting because I believe very strongly, more than 50% chance the Knicks are going to do business with some of these teams on draft night. I mean, I love Sohan at 11. If he's going to be there at 11. And what from another good piece of information that came out of the interview is a lot of the top 15 are not scrimmaging. So I was saying how, some guys can improve their stock if they show that they could do some business against other, especially like a guy like a Shaedon Sharpe. Look, man, listen to me carefully. High school tapes and layup line dunks are not going to tell you what this dude can play in the NBA. Do y'all hear me? High school tapes and layup line dunks against cones are not going to tell you if a dude could play in the NBA. I'm not saying Sharpe can't play in the NBA, but some of y'all are so certain, unless you were his agent or you were there watching him play against LeBron or somebody, how you know? Because I don't. And I'm not using my pick. And a lot of y'all say, let's roll the dice. You see, you don't understand, y'all. People's jobs are on the line with these picks. You can't this ain't Russian roulette. You keeping your little job 9 to 5. These guys on the Knicks front office will lose their job with the wrong pick. Don't roll no dice. This ain't no gambling thing. You reduce your risk as much as you can. And you bring all the justification you can to your owner who's writing your checks. Okay? That's going to help your team develop long-term sustainable winning. And the thing about Sharpe, I'm not saying he can't play. So please don't get me some of y'all on his job real heavy. I'm just saying, I don't know. And that because I don't know, I'm not taking him. I hope somebody takes him because now my guy Mathurin might be more available. But guys like that, see, I thought, okay, if he balled out during the combine, well, maybe, we could see if he could play. But they're not playing. They're not playing. Okay. So somebody's going to take risk here. So what do you have to go on with any of these guys? You got how they played against D1 competition. Okay. All of them except Sharpe. But you got all of how they play against D1 competition this past season. Okay? And as far as like a Matherin, I was telling you all about Matherin before the NC2A tournament. Before the Big Ten tournament. I was telling you this dude is the deal. Him and Tari Eason. I was in on them early. Okay? Sohan came later. Some of y'all had to convince me to look at him, but I admit that. But as far as Eason and Matherin, I was up on them from the jump. Okay, they stood out. Certain players just stood out right away. So I knew they were going to be people we had to look at. But if Thibs decides to push for these vets, or let's say they get a Malcolm Brogdon and a Miles Turner, and we lose Mitchell Robinson, which would be bad. But for Miles Turner, I think Leon could justify that because a lot of y'all love Miles Turner, right? I mean, y'all been crying for him for like a year now. So if we got Miles Turner and lost Mitchell Robinson, that wouldn't be a complete loss. Because if you lose Mitchell Robinson for nothing, that's a fireable offense. But if he could turn around to James Dolan and say, listen, we got Miles Turner for Mitchell Robinson. We think XYZ Miles Turner. Okay, then that would be cool. So now you get a Miles Turner, and we already know Brogdon. The problem with Brogdon, what y'all need to understand, is he's got 3 more seasons. Yeah, he got 3 more seasons at $22.5 million. And he's going to be 30. Okay? And again, I kind of like it only because I know Thibs is going to push him, run him, and he's going to get hurt. And that's going to leave IQ and Deuce opportunities, especially Deuce, because I believe Deuce is our point guard. We already got him. We just don't, a lot of y'all just don't see it yet. And this, I find it very interesting. Tell me if y'all don't see the irony in this here. So, Dyson Daniels. I like Dyson Daniels. I mean, he's like 4th on my draft board. So, Dyson Daniels averaged 11 points a game. 11 points a game in the G League. Yeah, he's 6'8". Yeah, he did this. Yeah, he got long on. He averaged 11 points a game. He shot 30% from 3 in the G League. Okay? And I'm not saying he can't play in the NBA, but listen. So he's considered a top 10 pick. I mean, right? A lot of y'all want him at 11. Right? So Deuce averaged 29 points a game in the G League and 11 assists. And you'll say, well, that was only G League. Yo, y'all hear what I just said, right? So, in other words, when it's Dyson Daniels, oh, he's 6'8" and he got long arms and we want, but when it's Deuce, it's only G League. We already got our point guard. I just need him to get a chance to play. And we're going to start in Summer League. And I'm looking forward to that. Okay. But, Tom can save his job if he plays these kids who are not really kids. Like I mentioned, even if you let Mitch Rod walk and you get Miles Turner, you start Obi. Because in that deal, Julius is out. Julius is out in any of these deals. Julius is gone. Some of y'all need to get over that. Some of y'all won't let go. You just hold on to Julius. Please don't leave. He's gone, y'all. Get over it. If you do business with Sacktown, Portland, or Indiana, Randall is gone. Period. Obi is your starting 4. Okay? It's only a matter of who you getting to back him up. Are you getting Sohan to back him up? Are you trading Barnes from Sacramento to back him up? That's all the question is. Who's backing Obi up? Obi's starting at the 4 this year. And I'm very confident in that. So Julius is out. Okay? So now you're going to have to decide what you're going to do. But if he plays RJ, he plays Grimes, he plays IQ and Deuce, and you still got D-Rose. I'm not sure what they're going to do with him, but if he plays these kids, he can say, I'm playing these young guys. We're pushing forward the youth. And so if we start losing, he's got backup. You don't have to lose his job because we are rebuilding. But if he starts running the same 5 vets out there and we losing, he's gone by the break. By the All-Star break. He'll lose his job. And Johnny Bryant will be the head coach. Johnny Bryant. I know y'all like I said, I like Atkinson. I want Mark Jackson, blah, blah, blah. Johnny Bryant's going to be the head coach. unless he leaves. If Johnny Bryant leaves for another job between now and the All-Star break, then obviously he won't be available. He's in demand. But if he stays on the staff, he's the next head coach. And I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. But that'll be the situation. So it's going to be interesting. Draft night is going to be lit, y'all. It's going to be lit because the Knicks are going to be doing business. It's going to be very interesting. I'll tell you right now, I'm guaranteeing they just not staying put at 11. Something's going to happen. They're going to trade the pick. They're going to move up. They're going to get vets. Something's going to happen on draft night. Okay. And they were already working that. And they've been interviewing all the guys we've been talking about. They interview, Mathurin. They interview Davis. They interview, Dyson Daniels. They got, and from what I heard, they interviewed they got 10 players they interviewed. So we'll find out. Berman will be letting that out, he said, as the days go by, the different interviews. But so far, I know they've interviewed Daniels, Mathurin, and Johnny Davis from Wisconsin. So we're going to see what happens. But, and it probably, they may interview top 4 guys, but for what? Unless they're moving into the top 4, they're going to probably be between 5 and 11 is what I'm thinking. Berman was mentioning how this draft is very deep, he said. I tend to disagree. Like I said, after the lottery, I don't see much there, to be quite honest with you. And some of y'all putting up all these no-name guys in the second round. Come on, stop, man. This draft is not the one. Last year was the draft to go second round. I don't see it this year. This year is top 15, and that's where your talent is for your NBA. So we'll see. And not all of them, you're going to get busts, man. There's going to be busts. Who's going to be a bust? I don't know. But you're going to get busts. The highest bust potential, if I'm looking at it right now, from the guys, I'm looking at Tankathon. Your highest bust potential, all right? And I'm not saying they're going to be busts. I'm saying potential. Usually big men are in that realm because either they get hurt, like Wiseman, or they stay in foul trouble. They never develop their game. They never just develop their game. So that's Duran, Mark Williams, and this guy Dang from New Zealand. Or Osmane Dang. I know some of y'all love these kids, but that's bust potential all the time. And then you got, just in general, and then you got AJ Griffin, who has had knee issues, and he's young. He got upside unlimited, but he's also got bust potential. Shaden Sharp. Again, we don't know nothing about him. We're going to find out. Bust potential, right? So those are the highest bust potential to me on this draft. The safest guys, to me, Smith, Banchero, Keegan Murray, Daniels, Mathurin, Sohan. Those are the safest ones. Davis, the reason Davis, to me, Johnny Davis got more heart than most of the kids in this draft. He plays with heart, man. And I like that. But he doesn't have the explosiveness. That's the thing that's bothering me. On the NBA level, my concern is, will he ever be able to get separation in the NBA? And I don't know. And that's why y'all haven't heard me talking a lot about him. I'm not saying he plays with heart. He got that Jalen Brunson heart that he definitely brings to the table. Not scared of anything, going to take in every challenge, and that's cool. But he's not the athletic Mathurin. He's not that. Okay. And I'm concerned if he can get separation, from somebody to get his shot off in the NBA. It's much harder than you think. Okay. And then defensively, he gives 110% effort on every play. But I'm wondering if he can stay in front of guys in the NBA. I don't know. And that's what I'm saying. I could be wrong. Maybe he can. I'm just saying, I don't know. I do believe 100% in Benedict Mathurin. He got the physical tools to do it all, right? So does Jeremy Sohan. So does Jaden Ivey, So those guys, I'm not worried about physically being able to play with NBA players at the speed of the NBA game. But Sharp is an unknown. Like I said, all the big men, Duran, Williams, Dieng, however you say it, all those guys are suspect because big men usually are. Let's think of the bus going back. Going all the way back, go look at a lot of your big men were busts. And it's because their game didn't translate, they got hurt, or they didn't develop properly, or they stayed in foul trouble more than 3 seasons. All of that, so that's why I'm not really hyped like some of you to go get some of these 5s. No, it's hard to develop a good 5. Really is. Okay. So yeah, but I like to minimize my risk. And to me, the guys I named, Mathurin, Sohan, Daniels, those are the minimum risk guys. And of course, I'm not talking about Smith and Banchero because I don't think we're going to be up that high. But Keegan Murray, I see him as his floor is very fundamentally sound, solid player. I'm not sure he's going to be any star, but fundamentally sound, solid. You know what you're getting from him every night. Going to give you an honest effort. He's actually 22, so he's a little bit on the older side, but I like him, and he would be good back up to Obi. I don't find him to be as talented as Obi Toppin. Okay. Even when Obi was coming out of Dayton, I don't find Keegan Murray to be as talented as Obi Toppin. Obi's, to me, head and shoulders athletically. Forget it. Okay. But Murray is very solid. I like him. But in that draft range, again, I'm looking at other guys. I would take Sohan before I took Murray. If I could get Sohan. So anyway, this is how Tom Thibodeau can keep his job. He's going to have to go with the youth program. If he fights it, and then Leon gives him his wish, and he got these veterans, and we losing by January, say hello to your new coach, Johnny Bryant. But if he goes with it, first of all, I believe we'll win. If he plays those young guys that we're talking about, we'll win. It won't be like a rebuild because these guys are not, even though they're young, like I said, they're not rookies. So we'll see what happens. But 23rd of June is going to be here quick, man. And there's going to be a lot of stuff going on between now and then. But draft night's going to be lit. I'm actually going to be traveling on draft night. Yeah. I'm going to be traveling from Orlando to Washington. So I don't know how this is going to work out. So we're going to see. But anyway, y'all enjoy the ride, man. Here we go. Buckle up. Shalom. Enjoy your weekend. Be safe out there, y'all. Shalom.